We'll talk about interesting things. We've got an interesting panel, I think, automation and AI. The role of the CFO has evolved in the last 10 years, in the last 3 years even more so. At the front and center of the evolution, because we're not just looking after the books of accounts anymore. We are strategic partners in the value creation in a company. The other aspects which have evolved is that, like the previous speaker was so rightly saying, that the domain has evolved, right? So when we are taking investment decisions, it's not just about ROI, but also whether this will enhance productivity, this will enhance efficiency, in what manner in times to come. The other dimension is more collaborative, right? It's not as if technology is an outsider. It's not as if data engineering is an outsider. These are all part of the core process, and we need to figure out how to work with them. So we'll, across the panel, we'll start with the advantages and challenges. We'll focus on automation and AI, automation more than AI. The first part is about how automation and the various applications which are available along with the advent of AI, how has that changed the entire finance organization? And I'll go to Shipra and then Kumar, maybe you can come in. So specifically automation in AI, how has it transformed the finance leaders into strategic decision makers, right? So that's the first part. And then if there are any examples, right, specific processes where you've focused and you've driven these improvements. Shipra, please.
Thank you so much. So traditionally, finance was very reliant on manual processes, I would say, heavily reliant on manual processes, with CFO primarily focused on accounting and bookkeeping, right? With the advent of technology, the focus has completely changed. We know that finance, they are the data custodians, right? The kind of information, access of information that they have, nobody else in the organization has got that level of access. And that's why they can act as strategic partner to the business, right? And this is not just about, I would say, automation of finance processes, but we are moving into or entering into an era where it's era of enriched insights, right? And this is the right time to monetize on the kind of information that we have. And various technologies, like either we are talking about robotic process automation, RPA, or hyper automation, where AI is sitting on top of RPA, or we are talking about AI ML now with GenAI, large language models, right? Cloud analytics. So when we bring all this information, all these tools together, you can create a system which is going to be completely autonomous, I would say. Autonomous as in your data is taken care of, your insights are generated by the system itself, and these systems can act on the insights as well, right? You can take care of data quality, data issues can be taken care of, and with I know forecasting is one of the major work that finance requires, and most of the time the accuracy is not very high, right? Now with the advent of AI and Gen AI, you can use the external information as well and can analyze the impact of external factors, market dynamics on the business growth, right? And that's why we are saying that CFOs now, they are in a position to act as strategic partners to the business. And I think, couple of years down the line, instead of CFO, we will be calling them Chief Growth Officers. So we are moving there, and they are in the best position to do that. You want me to cover, maybe I'll cover one example as well, right?
Sure, if you can, yeah.
Yeah. So one example, there are a lot of examples, right? One I'll pick up is, because mornings I met someone, and we had that discussion that AI is more suited for videos or images and all. How do we use it for finance, right? There are multiple cases. One I'll pick up is, when we talk about finance, we have these purchase orders, we have invoices, we have internal audit reports, right? Or claim, where it's all handwritten notes, right? And now AI is in that situation where earlier maybe we used to use OCR, where the transformation was not, converting it to a structured data was not 100%, I would say. But with AI embedded OCR, or we call it intelligent document processing, you can convert these unstructured data, even for the external, sources which are there, web scraping and all. You can convert all these unstructured data into structured form, which can be easily consumed, right? So, yeah.
No, thank you. Kumar, just angle to this, data cleanly available, processes are self-reliant, the outcomes can be directed by the tool. Looks like utopia. Is it really so? I just adding ancillary to that, I'm sure the finance organization as a strategic decision maker, that role has evolved. Any specific examples you may have, you would want to bring in?
I agree that I think the finance function, and the role of CFO is continuously changing. To a large extent, I think we define our roles. Organization defines a role. To some extent, we can make it bigger or smaller. In this emerging, changing scenario, few things that we have as finance function, he is helping and partnering with the organization, is to see how to leverage AI. See, what you cannot stop is in terms of AI interfering with you, with your business, influencing your decisions and things like that. So from our point of view, organization has started focusing in terms of how to leverage AI. So I just want to give one example. Last year, we said, why not we make our factories leverage more on AI, which in the common parlance is used as Industry 4.0 from the manufacturing point of view. And why not we go and get it certified externally, whether we are really in adopting or using Industry 4.4 kind of processes. And the best way to do is that to go to the very well-known recognized body. So we decided that we'll go and seek recognition from Lighthouse, which is recognized in the World Economic Forum. And why not we look at one of our factories and then see whether we are able to meet the standards. So the role of finance here, that was a kind of a business decision. Of course, it involved investment because we had to engage people who are experts. We were certainly not experts at that point in time to see and progress on the journey. The role of finance there was, the way we defined ourselves was getting a certificate or a recognition of Lighthouse should not be an end goal. The end goal in that specific case is that it should have a business impact. So therefore, from our point of view, if you really want to imbibe AI, okay, how do you make sure that AI outcome solves your critical business problems, helps in terms of achieving its business objectives. So therefore, from finance function, from our point of view, we said the outcome of AI, Lighthouse is to improve the capital productivity. I work in an industry which is capital intensive. I work in an industry which is, has a huge margin impact whenever commodity prices move up or down, because anywhere between 60 and 70% of our sales value is our commodity cost. So therefore, factories will have to become more efficient with respect to wastages, and utility manufacturing cost is high. So let us, and therefore, at the end of this exercise, there should be an improvement in capital productivity by X percentage, which we defined as 20%. Wastages should come down by 50%, and utility costs should come down by this. We built our financial processes around that in terms of trying to evaluate whether indeed that exercise helped us in achieving that. Of course, we got that recognition of Lighthouse in that year. I wouldn't say tick mark in all three, but at least at closer to 80% of the level what we had defined as outcomes against these three parameters. And that created huge amount of rub-off effect in terms of imbibing that in other factories and other processes. So therefore, finance can play a role in terms of not only leveraging AI in our own functions, but also ensuring that when it is used in overall business context, okay, making sure that it helps in solving the problems and the outcome has a direct linkage to it. That's what I would like to share.
No, thank you very much. I think it's a big learning, clear, tangible business outcome, right? So when you're looking at any kind of automation or the use of AI, I think it has to be linked, and there is so much you can do if there is a lens which needs to drive what is relevant and what is not. Having that business outcome is very important. Especially so, Shipra was mentioning external data becoming available, how we can actually realistically assess and check what is happening, and then that also opens up to so many possibilities, right? And one possibility which, I think I'll bring in Ritesh and Abhishek is on the risk management part. I think when we do it faster, when we include multiple systems and external data assets, there is this whole issue around risk. Are we opening our system to new kinds of risks? Are we making ourselves prone to fraud? So let's talk about in that context the use of AI, automation, and does this also help in prevention of these, right? We were talking about business process and how the application can help with business processes. But the other end is that new risks, new kinds of frauds, and how do we apply AI in automation? Please, Ritesh.
Yeah, so I think it's a very pertinent question. And you're right, absolutely, that with the kind of business environment, the speed at which the business environment is changing, similarly, the landscape of the risks involved or the risks which a business is exposed is also changing, ever changing. Now, just to answer your question, how automation or AI is helping in a way, in an organization which is very highly exposed to various kinds of risks and the number of transactions or the data sets are very huge. In a way, automation and AI comes as a rescue. And how it comes as a rescue? By improving the entire risk management framework and helping you strengthen your fraud detection. Now, if I were to talk to you about few of the use cases, see what we have used in my current organization and also in my previous work experience. Obviously, one commonly used AI or an automation example is using image or a document analytics tool to verify many of the authenticity of various transactions, which could be as simple as verifying the customer or vendor onboarding data, which could be as simple as making sure that your travel claims, your dealer claims, or your channel partner claims, they are not duplicate, they are not forged, or they are not tampered with. So, many of these things where automation and AI comes very handy. Then there are other examples, which is like there are tools which are which are very good in pattern analysis and anomalies. So these tools, if you deploy, on top of your ERP, also helps you identify the outliers versus your historical trend and the normal business norm, and which then raises a red flag that is there any potential item which needs to be looked deeper into to ensure that there is no fraud happening. Then there are, so that's this more on finance side. If I were to talk on the operations side, we have implemented predictive maintenance tool or automation solutions, which is basically saying, there are tools which are sitting on the critical machinery. They are constantly capturing the real-time data of those machinery and saying, if they predict, and they then try and predict which are the machines or the equipments which may go under failure or defects in the coming time, and thereby then it allows you as an organization to say, can I timely act on it? And then, so another risk which I could think of is cyber security. Obviously, a lot of cyber risks or threats to which we are exposed, and there are advanced AI tools. It could be as simple as an auto incident response tool or a sort of tool which identifies the cyber threats and sort of blocks it at the right time. Again, those are the ones which are quite helpful, those automations and those AIs, in terms of overall strengthening the risk management and the fraud detection environment of the organization.
No, thank you very much for that. I think repeatable processes, enable us to efficiently handle many of these things which we were earlier reacting to becomes proactive. Right. Abhishek, would you want to?
Hello. Sorry. So, as Shipra mentioned that traditionally it was all manual processes, and the automation is helping the organization to get the data ready. So manual processes had those inherent risk, and therefore this automation every organization is implementing. But at the same time, we need to consider the change in risk. So earlier, the older risk has now been replaced with the new risk, which is evolving every day. Any risk with respect to cybersecurity. So automation has come along with a new risk also. So we need to be very sure, any organization need to be implement the automation in the right direction with the right spirit. As Satya mentioned in the Deloitte study, almost 70% implementation is not as per the mark. So idea is risk involved during automation or after automation also, it is a high risk area. So one need to ensure the technology has been implemented in a correct manner, and on a regular basis it has been checked, because every day risk is changing. There are some new attacks. The latest is CrowdStrike. So nobody would have thought about it. So risk is changing. So now there are AI ML tools available, as Ritesh mentioned, the predictive analysis. So those can be used to predict what will be the new risk, rather than just focusing on the risk which has been happening in the past. So I think one has to look at both the sides while implementing automation. Let's look at what are the other side of the risk.
Right. No, I completely agree, because as we are moving ahead, data digitization, then we say, okay, my manual oversight has moved. How do I do the same maker-checker concept? Can I train an algorithm? The algorithm is already the maker. Can another algorithm be the checker? And can it direct the manual intervention whenever it is required, right? So I minimize, I enhance productivity. As I am using, newer ways, it makes us more prone, and one of the considerations of AI specifically is around ethics. Are we using the right data? If we are using the right data, are we doing it in the right manner? And I think that's a question which, keeps coming up again and again. We have started putting premium on data, and data privacy. And therefore, the other dimension is that if I'm training an algorithm, am I actually training it also on the biases which exist? So from that perspective, within the context of finance, Deepak, I may bring you in, any views on how to best mitigate or avoid such pitfalls?
Thanks, Hitesh. See, my view on this is that AI as a technology is right now evolving, right? And it's evolving every single day, every single week. So our understanding of these risks is also evolving. All of us are in various stages of implementation. Kumar kind of shared example, Shipra shared examples. I think every company is at a different stage of evolution as well. So our understanding of these risks is kind of evolving every time. With wherever we have reached so far, a couple of things like you mentioned is the data privacy, and those are the kind of ethical challenges that I see. So for example, we are a publicly listed company, right? And I see that the usage of AI in summarizing data, in creating a lot of speeches, etc., is increasing a lot. And we are very careful that no unpublished data is kind of submitted in any AI model, because those are unsecured, right? Another thing is patents, like proliferation. So when you get information, you have no idea whether the data is kind of copyrighted, the piece that you're using, are there any patents, etc. I think those are the challenges, and we have to be very mindful how we are using those outcomes. I think you also mentioned biases, right? And we all know that AIs can be biased, right? There can be hallucination, and there can be a lot of biases. I just was reading an example saying a United States couple applied for credit cards, both for husband and wife. They file a common return. Husband got a 20 times higher credit limit versus the wife, while all the data was same, right? And that's kind of a bias. Similarly, Gemini last year, all of us would know the kind of challenges that happen in the outcomes, right? I think Google share price came down some 4-5% with that incident alone. But so there are biases. I think at this point in time, none of us are using probably the AI outputs in its as a sacrosanct output. All of us know that it can make mistakes, and there is a lot of validation that we put in place. These challenges, I think, will grow as we go forward. When our reliance on AI output would go up, the org structure will become, let's say, more attuned, where we don't have sufficient people for those validations, etc. I think those risks will grow even more as the time comes. But we just have to be mindful to all of these and then validate output. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I think with automation it's simpler. We know repeatable processes, productivity is the question. The only thing is that if I automate this, is there a downstream, upstream impact? I think that's the cognizance. With AI, and I'll take an example, we talk of IQ tests, for example, and we say that this is a standardized assessment and this is where you stand. And then we started questioning, no, but the standards have been developed maybe with the developed world in mind, and that's the core to the problem, right? If I'm using an AI, and the foundational data which is being used, is that relevant for our business environment? And I think many of the business leaders in India are asking that question. So that's the question of relevance. The second is that when we've actually considered training data, is this the right representation of the way, it exists? And we made the right adjustments in the training data also, right? And in the US, for example, my lending algorithm cannot say that, okay, it's a black-owned business and therefore high risk, right? It's a bias there, So how do we weave that out? There's no human involved. If I train that algorithm, it will run that as scale. And now there are guidance around this, and it gets more complicated. Why? Because now privacy has come in. Everybody's saying, no, it's my data. How does it impact you is that when I'm actually picking up a tool, are you aware whether that tool is learning from you, from your data, right? And how that data is being used and traveling to others, right, who may be using it or reusing it. If not the data, then the algorithm, right? So I think there's so many dimensions to AI specifically. I would say automation is simpler, AI is more complex, and the summarization, aggregation of AI, yes, a good use case. Strategic decision making, I don't know. It's always, it can present to you possibilities, but the decision making has to be with the leaders. And it takes me to an interesting question, right? Now, the decision making part. And Satya was mentioning this. He said talent, data, finance, tech and process, right? 4 dimensions. And that's how the finance organization is evolving, and specifically on talent. We have new animals now in the play. If I am a finance guy and I need to work with data, then I need to know how to use data engineers, right? And data engineers are not enough. I need to have people who can run the data ops process also, right? So somebody who can, because the data engineers say, no, I need ready data sets, so the data ops guy ensures that the right data set is there. But the data engineer says, no, but I need the right tech environment, right? So the tech becomes core. Earlier the tech function has been just a silent spectator, but now it's front and center, right? And when you see these 3 roles along with what we already were doing, it becomes more complex, right? It becomes multifunctional. So my question there, and this is open to all, is about the talent, the whole upskilling which is required. How do you navigate that, and how are you navigating that, and please feel free, any one of you wants to pick this up.
So I think one of the thing, and you're right, it's a constant challenge, especially because it requires a skill which probably currently is not available. One of the things which we are trying to, how we are trying to address this challenge is working closely with the HR and making sure that we have a formal training program that formal training program which addresses both the technical skill upskilling gap plus as well as also the soft skill, which means, for example, things like problem solving, critical thinking. On both the fronts, at least the identified employees are being trained. So that was one way how we are trying to manage this challenge. Then obviously on-the-job training is another area where obviously when you implement and then when you train the people as they start working more and more, the practical experience of using that automation or that AI helps them a lot in making sure that they are upskilled over a period. But yeah, I think it's a challenge.
Yeah, Shipra, please.
Sorry. Thank you. So there are multiple things that can be done, right? As tailored training programs, certification programs that we are talking about, maybe collaborating with some of the educational institutes, right? Mentoring, peer-to-peer learning, cross-collaboration of the teams and all. So there are a lot of things that can be done, right? Most important thing that I feel is you need to stay updated. So we need to develop a culture of continuous learning and lifelong learning, I would say, right? We need to learn and see the peer trends, right? What other organizations are doing, what kind of experiments, innovation they are doing, and how do we learn from that, and how do we learn from industry trends, right? So certification is going to help you implement it, but then you need to understand, what are the possible use cases that can be solved. So I would say just be updated, keep yourself updated with, what is happening in the surrounding, and that is the culture that we should be promoting in the organization as well.
Yeah. Just to add, both Ritesh and Shipra has said quite a bit. I think the skill set requirements are evolving. I see it in two ways. One is the, let's say, more traditional finance roles, which is the accounting, controllership, etc. Those remain very, very important, compliance, right? And those skill sets are changing, let's say, at a slower pace than others. The FP&A part of it, the analytics part of it, is changing faster, and also the possibilities there are larger. So for example, in one of my previous roles, I was the CFO for Oyo Vacation Homes. It's a vacation rental business. You can call it, let's say, Airbnb++ in terms of a business model for a simpler understanding. Every booking was happening on the system, right? And as finance, we needed to know the profitability of every booking that's happening, etc. We hired a data analyst. And in the entire finance team or the FP&A team, which was, let's say, 6 members strong, the analyst role was the most important, right? Because this role made sure that every other role is more productive. And I see that happening more and more. Revenue management, for example, you give an example saying the pricing was defined through AI. So we will forecast the probability of any house getting booked in a particular week. And if the probability is high, the prices would go up. It's a dynamic pricing. And if it's kind of low, then the prices would go down. But then finance, my P&L depends on dynamic pricing, right? And for me to figure out whether that model is working fine or not is extremely important. So those kind of skill sets are becoming more and more important, and then the boundaries of finance versus tech versus revenue management start getting blurred, and then you need to be open to kind of have those roles in finance team which are, let's say, more trained in technology than in finance itself.
Right, absolutely. Anything? Kumar, Abhishek, do you want?
See, what we are doing today is very different from what we studied in our curriculum. Okay, so it's going to be a lifelong learning. I think it is our approach. See, you cannot shy away from embracing technology. And so if you don't embrace it, somebody else is going to do it and you're going to lose in that process. So create a mindset within the team in terms of the need to embrace. At different levels, we need to have different mindsets. So maybe a person who has joined the organization at the entry level, training them or ensuring that they have necessary skill set is fine. But after a point in time, it is about people understanding what the technology can do, what AI can do, what blockchain can do, what machine learning can do, all that. And then either you do it through your own team or do it through somebody who can do it for you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so we should not shy away. I think what is very important is to rise up your hand and say, look, I don't know. And go and learn from the person who could be very junior in the organization. Hierarchy doesn't matter as far as learning is concerned. Understand what it can do. Honestly, while I'm listening to all of you also, I'm picking up some of the things that which we don't do. So it's important to have that humility to come into our office every day and say, look, I don't know, it's better to learn. There are many best practices around. Can we learn and imbibe and make it happen?
Right.
And have the patience sometimes to allow people to lose, allow people to fail, and encourage them even if we fail. I think it's more about the softer aspect.
Right.
And the hardcore skill set can either come from people who joined the organization or from outside. That's a view I have.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So I just want to add here is training is crucial for entire organization. HR need to take care of it. What is happening? Finance team, our CFO is getting held with the lot of compliances, due dates, and at the end, even if it has been framed, the training programs, unfortunately, those are not getting implemented, especially for the finance function, for majorly the reason of the compliances and the timelines. So that's where the new age CFO role comes in, that now if we don't integrate training as a substantial role for entire function, then it will become a difficult, because CFO now are the co-pilot. I was talking to someone she mentioned that they are co-pilot for the businesses. So that is possible only if the entire team, entire function is getting trained with the automation, how to use it, how to effectively use it. So that's more important.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I think it's more, 10 years back, we looked at vertical specializations. If I'm a risk professional, I would go and do GARP, for example, and I'll say that will help me progress. Today, it's more horizontal. We need to know the possibilities. I think, that today, if an XBRL is filed, and if I need to do an auto extraction, does the right technology exist? That is one. Yes, it exists. So that's the open possibility. And then who's the right partner? Should I do it internally or do I work with a third-party partner? And then how reliable this process is, right? And what part of that should I build in my team? The other part which I have realized is that, HR-driven trainings are dead. Largely it is core to us, because I know that these are 3 foundational skills required for us to run the department. And then we need to say, okay, this guy has the right experience and the functional blend. So he comes in, and the tech guy and the data guy, they come together and we provide them an infrastructure to experiment and fail, right? Please experiment, fail. The outcomes and possibilities will help you train and learn, right? Because when we change the pricing, like you were saying, there is a tech involved. There is an algorithm which is leading you to a certain outcome, and the outcome is that I need to increase the realization, right? Per day of occupancy, my realization has to go up, right? And then, and I'll move to the next leg. Actually, when we do all of this, train people, open ourselves to other possibilities, applications, there is this whole cyber security angle to this, right? And I'll bring in, again, Ritesh and Kumar, how do I look at cyber risk, right? It's an emerging risk, actually not emerging, it is arrived, it's very much real. And when we are doing all of these changes, digital transformation, use of algorithms which actually, are like predators, they use our data as well as third-party data, and they open ourselves to possibilities and risks which we've not seen. So in that context, how important is cybersecurity, right? And if it is important, then how do we integrate it in our overall risk management, if that's the question?
We have a risk management governance, and So we have good risk management committee also at the board level. Generally, we get all our risk reviewed with the risk management committee twice. But within the organization, we normally identify top 50 risks. Cyber risk is one thing which is always there, top 10, top 5. Honestly, for many of the other risks, we have mitigating action. Generally, we are okay. We would give us 7 out of 10 in terms of our mitigating actions, mitigating the risks. With respect to cyber, okay, I think we discover many things every day. Generally, one of the big fours carry out a cyber risk evaluation, not only for CEAT as a company, but also for our group. And when they come and present, okay, it's very difficult to sleep that night. Because they come and say, look, I saw in this laptop, I can access this, etc. I know obviously they will be slightly exaggerating the issues, but the fact of the matter is those risks exist. And sometimes we also realize the cyber risks is not necessarily relating to the data that you have in your cloud or in your own servers. As we start using technology even in the manufacturing processes, you realize it's also possible for you to have cyber-related risks in your PLCs connected to the machines, in the way PLCs are connected to your systems, your MES systems, your MIS systems. So, and then sometimes when we realize the mismatch between one source of data and another source of data in manufacturing, and then we accidentally found some bugs, some viruses, some control-related issues. So I think it's evolving. It's important to identify among the cyber risks what are the risks that we need to address. It's a constant thing. It's evolving every year, every month, every day, and keep updating ourselves in terms of what are the risks. Okay, I'm sure on the panel there are two guys from tire companies, but I heard last month one of the multinational tire company in the US had to stop business operations for a week or fortnight because of ransom attack and things like this. So this is real. So keep identifying. We need to do certain basic things right, okay, from cyber risk point of view. I know there are many ways in which you can reduce. The primary source is to check whether you have all the access controls in place. Right. Okay, what data, who is accessing what, and you should be paranoid with those. Whenever you talk to people, always keep talking about need to share information, share the information on need basis. Okay, what is getting connected? Okay, and how are the linkages? Who is reviewing? Get an external unconnected person to come and give an unbiased report, and constantly update ourselves. Okay, and these are some of the ways in which we do. I would still give a very high score, okay, because we still don't know many things, more than the things that we know. So therefore, it's an evolving process,
Right.
and we should continually work on it with priority.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, it's an evolving process. I think, you know, how we do it is we're doing it at the design stage. We build that in, saying any new application, any new data source, any new process, any new offering, we need to look at it from an IT security perspective, data governance perspective, you know, and then need to have a ecosystem which enables us the testing. And like you rightly said, once that is real, then we need to do continuous surveillance, internal, third party, you know, and like we do in any internal audits, if there are any measures which we need to correct, then immediately respond to that. So I think it's a continuous process. Ritesh, anything?
I think Kumar has almost covered. I'll just add one small thing there. And it's like saying we have to now start, I think post-COVID, most of the businesses have realized that cyber risk or cyber security or cyber threat is a pertinent risk which every business is exposed, and it can have a very significant financial impact and also the operational impact. And as a result, what is more important to make sure that the cyber security as a topic is integrated to your overall risk management topic or strategy is also to make sure that cyber security is not seen as an IT issue. You know, it's more seen as a business risk where, you know, people, especially the key stakeholders who are internal key stakeholders at the top understands and appreciates the fact that the amount of impact it can lead to on your business, which, and this mere sheer awareness at the top and also at the employee level will make sure that both the doers and as well as the people who are there to, approve an investment in the cybersecurity initiatives, both goes hands in hand and smooth.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. So that brings me to another interesting question, and maybe Abhishek, I'll bring you in here. So I am doing enough, as per the laws of the land, right? This is what the compliance asks me to do, and sometimes that is enough. Many times it's not enough, right? How do we balance that, right? Sometimes the laws of the land are playing catch up. Sometimes they are far ahead. And both those scenarios are a problem, right? So as a business, which is in this ever-evolving environment, has to mitigate the risks, what do we do and what's the right thing to do from a compliance and cybersecurity perspective?
So, as we discussed, so regulators are also not behind in adopting the automation AI technologies. Every one of us are aware that whatever data we know or we are seeing, technology or regulators are almost having the same data or more than that. So most of the time people have started adopting a practice, let's validate the data, what regulators have, and then do it. So I would say regulators are also in the same race. It is not just we or the businessmen and the CFO are doing it. So let's do it while implementing the automation, do it thoroughly in the right spirit. And since the technology is evolving, especially AI and Gen AI, it will evolve in next 2-3 years. So let's implement that in the KPI of the team as well. The training, make it integral part of the KPI itself. Because unless we get used to what is going to happen in future, we will not able to access or will not able to implement or use the functions. And therefore, it is very critical that we stay with the time, with the technology as a finance function.
Yeah, no, I think, what you're saying is absolutely right. For us, independent of the compliance role, we need to evaluate the cyber risk, and sometimes I think we mix up, and I've seen this in many instances where we say that, okay, I'm doing enough as per what has been defined, but that may not be enough for the business model which you're evolving, and as CFOs, I think we are front and center because we have to balance both. One, there is no question we have to comply. The other is, which is imperative because otherwise your business model is at risk, and sometimes that brings the complexity to the role. I think, I've run out of time, but, if there are any questions which anyone from the audience may have, we can take a couple of questions. We've just tried to touch the surface. I think if broadly you ask me, the CFO's role is complex. What we've told you is that the CFO is now the CTO, CIO, also the Chief Analytics Officer, all rolled into one, because they are the ones who are the guardians of the resources, and the business outcome also, and therefore horizontal is the word, upskilling is the word, and knowing what are the possibilities, and at the same time then guarding yourselves from a risk perspective, and AI or automation, everything has to be driven through a business outcome. Many things, many possibilities, but if there is one thing which helps you define what are the two things to do, it's the immediate and now business impact, and you should have a mechanism, an ecosystem which helps you govern that. Yeah. So anyone, any questions, or otherwise we can, yeah, please, sir.
Hello. Sir, we are, since morning, we are seeing one side of our, about the automation, about the digitization, about AI technology. Company is progressing, they are using the latest things, tools and all that thing. But on the other side, if I see the economy as a whole, see, we are a labor-intensive economy. Labor is too much Suppose if we go for automation in every field and every organization, we are making more profits, more easy work tool. But the economy as a whole, labors and all that thing we are neglecting. Suppose if we say equity analysis, there are 10 analysts working in an organization. If we say some AI tools and all that thing, they will give the result of 10 people doing the one system works for 10 people. 10 people are laid off, right? Overall economy. So the commercialization and industry is going towards that direction, but neglecting the economy, neglecting the people's unemployment is increasing because of all these tools. So how do we deal that thing as a whole, not as a one side where we are progressing, we are moving towards a more profitability, more target, more achievement towards that thing. That is one part.
Yeah, anyone?
I can start and then I would request the others to add. So thanks for asking this question, and I don't think you are the only one or discussing this thing, right? The entire world is discussing this topic. My personal view is that that we are not in a situation where AI will kind of eat away jobs. I think, and we have seen as humanity, we have seen multiple transitions or transformations, right? Whether, and in every industry, whether it's banking, transportation, everything. And every time, new jobs have come in. When the hand-pulled carts went away, which probably were more, there were new transportation models came in and people started using that. If the equity analysis, which people are doing today, that goes away because AI is able to, let's say, bring in a lot of intelligence there, new things will come in because the part of earlier, the human intelligence was making a difference. Now that data will become almost par. Right? And hence new set of skill sets would be required to outshine others, and that need would always be there. There would always be competition, and hence we will find new jobs. Earlier I was talking about, let's say, new roles in finance. The data analyst role in finance, right, which is not a finance professional, but a data analyst tech specialist, was never there. Today, I feel the need in every role that I go in, probably the first person that I should hire are those data analysts, right? So will these jobs go away completely? I don't think so. But will they change? That will definitely happen. And hence, what is important is that people need to be reskilled. They need to be upskilled. And that is something that has to start happening. And at a wider level, people who are in agriculture, people who are in labor, etc., every field is changing, so people need to be more technology savvy, and I think as a human race we will survive. That I'm kind of sure of.
No, well said, actually. You know, I mirror it. I said one of the biggest issues we have is productivity. Productivity can only be enhanced, and I'm saying globally, when we adopt new processes, you know, and we encourage the workforce to do value-added work. You know, and there is always a transition, you know, and that upskilling is required. The question is, who will bear the burden of that transition cost? Will it be industry? Will it be the government? You know, and that's an open question. But the question, you know, I think the progress in that direction, absolutely, we have to make, you know, because manual processes limit you to a certain level of productivity and to a certain level of living standard also. And that transition is only beneficial for the economy. And like he rightly said, there will be new jobs created. You know, we talk about, say for example, green finance today, you know, same thing, you know, when we transition, I am using thermal based power to now solar, you know, and there is a transition involved, right? There's a capex involved, there's an operating cost involved. And we bear that burden because in the long run, it is the positive thing to do and also positive for the business. I think that's the principle, I think that's the theme, you know, and we have to jointly work towards that. But yes, there is a transition cost. I'm not discounting that. And there is obsolescence which will happen if we don't grow and if we don't upskill our employees and our workforce. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.